everybody. Not entirely sure how and where this one's gonna go. I know it's gonna be tough because we're gonna talk today about my brother's suicide. And if that's not something you're prepared to listen to, there's your warning right there. And the reason I'm going to talk about it is that we're getting ready to launch a video podcast series where I ask people to come on and talk about resilience and talk about hard things they've faced, challenges they've overcome, and how they find it in themselves to go one more step. And it'd be really disingenuous to ask my guests to do that and not do it myself. And so, here we are. It's just under 16 years ago. My brother Jimmy found himself in a situation he didn't think there was a way out of, and so he took his own life. And the morning it happened, I was in the DC area. Got the call, had to drive from DC down to Virginia Beach, switch out the government vehicle I had, pack some clothes, and then drive up home to Massachusetts. Don't remember much about that drive, but once I got home and we started the process of everything, of grieving, of planning the viewing and the service, people coming and going, family, friends. I remember a lot about it, but it's really disjointed. And it's not so much, you hear people say going through life in a fog or dazed or what. I was keenly aware of everything going on. I was really spotting a lot of details. The problem was it was like walking through a funhouse full of broken mirrors. Where every little shard reflects you back, and everyone is a little bit distorted in its own unique way. And I was seeing the world come back at me in thousands of different miniature reflections, each of which uniquely distorted and different from the reality I thought I had understood until the moment I found out I'd lost my brother. And I just focused on little things. There were a lot of people coming and going, a lot of us staying there. We all had to eat. We all needed coffee in the morning. We're a family of coffee drinkers. So just focus on the next thing. Get through that, see what was next. Go talk to the funeral director about minutia of the viewing and the service. Talk to the priest about reading selections and all that other stuff. And at the time there were a lot of people, I think because I wasn't visibly falling apart, felt like they came to me for, I guess, something to lean against. And so people would come to me, tell me how my brother's death, how hard it was on them. All I could do was nod, share empty platitudes, and get through it. I wasn't outwardly together because I was especially strong. I was outwardly together because I didn't want to let it crack. I didn't want the dam to burst. And when it finally did, after I'd left home and gotten back to work, I was a mess. I did all the usual things. I self-medicated by drinking too much. I took stupid chances with my life, with others' lives a couple of times, and that was a wake-up call. And it was mostly, I think, coming from a place of daring the fates to punish me. I would act out, take dumb chances, act like a jerk to people who did not deserve it, all just sort of waiting for the punishment to come, because all those tiny little mirror shards, there were a lot that returned an image to me of someone who had let his brother die. And I couldn't get out of my head, and I still hold on to, in many ways, the idea that I should have done more. I should have at least tried to do more. I knew that morning he was in trouble. I was at a conference on a topic, I don't even remember what it was. That's how not important it was. And so, in that fun house full of broken mirrors, the one distortion that kept coming back around and around again was that my brother died alone, believing he was alone, and I let that happen. I still wonder. Well over 15 years now, I still wonder. And since then, I'm a different human being. Since I took the call, I'm a different human being. You hear people say when there's a loss, part of me died with them. And I don't think that's quite right, at least in my case. It feels more like all of me that day died. There was a Brian that had a view of the world and an understanding of life that included my brother. And then that was gone. And then there was a new Brian born in that instant into a world where Jimmy was gone. And I'm still figuring out my place in that world. Every day. And it comes at odd times now. I really do, having lived this for over a decade and a half, I really do believe in the ball in a box analogy of grief or trauma. If you're not familiar with it, picture a box that has a button on one wall, and that button is the grief button or the trauma button, the breakdown button I call it. Everybody has one, and there's a ball, and that ball is the event. And when it's fresh, that ball is enormous. It's pressing against every wall of the box. The box is even bowing out a little bit. So that button is on full press. So you are on full grief, full trauma, full exposure. And over time, the ball starts to shrink. And it goes at a different pace for everybody and for every event. And as it shrinks, it starts to move and bounce around the walls of that box that your brain, your heart, your mind, your soul, whatever you want to choose to call it. And as it shrinks, it's still pretty big, still hits that button pretty regularly. That's the first few weeks, months, a couple of years after the event. It'll just hit dead on and you're a mess. And over time, the ball continues to shrink. The more it shrinks, the lower the odds of a direct hit. But it's still bouncing around constantly. That box is a zero friction environment. And it's careening around, and every once in a while there'll be a hit. And sometimes it's just a glancing blow on the edge. You hear a song lyric that reminds you of the person or the event. Taste of food that you shared at a memorable meal. Smell something, remind you of a day you spent outside, whatever it is. And if it's just a light graze on the edge of that button, maybe you get a sad smile or a bittersweet smile. It's not all entirely bad. Remembering him is good. I never want him to go away. And sometimes could be the same song lyric, same whatever, but it's a direct blow out of nowhere and you're just a mess. You just break down. I find for me those direct hits actually aren't the anniversaries or his birthday or anything like that. It's small, subtle things. God, I think probably 5 years more after his death, I was watching the Scorsese movie The Departed about Boston crime, and there's a scene when high tension and it's kind of a slow-mo chase. Matt Damon's following Leo DiCaprio, and there's just one cut scene. The character looks at himself and sees 1,000 reflections in a mirror, in a series of small hanging mirrors in an ornament. And it brought me right back to that fun house full of broken mirrors, and I threw up. No warning. It's another couple years before I could watch that movie again, but I can now. Still not a fan of that scene. I know intellectually. Given the separation, given the timeline, I probably couldn't have stopped them. Definitely not the morning of. I'll never not wonder if I could have stopped him by being more present, even from afar, by being more involved, by making absolutely 100% sure he knew he was never alone. I'll never fully forgive myself for not dropping everything and going home when I knew the trouble he was in. And it occurred to me that that would be an option someone would consider. That alone should have had me turning my car into a rocket to get up there and be face to face and show him he was not alone. I'll never be able to take that morning back. And every single holiday, people ask me what I want. What I want is a time machine, and I want that chance. Just the chance. Just a clear shot. A shot at stopping him from ending an absolutely beautiful life just when it was beginning, and from shattering so many of our worlds. So that is my raw truth, and that's the weight I carry every day. Everywhere I go, it's there. Some days it's lighter. Some days it feels like the entire planet on my shoulders, but it's always there. So, if you're hurting, know this. Somebody out there gives a shit. Somebody out there is glad for every additional step you take, every additional hour you get through. If you think you're alone, you are not. So if you're hurting, reach out. I post resources in the comments of every one of these videos. Use them. Reach out to a friend, reach out to family, reach out to a stranger, reach out. If you know somebody that's hurting, reach out. Even if all you do is tell and show them, I'm here and I love you. Do it. Do it today. Because I'm here to tell you, that particular process of death and rebirth in a shattered world is no fun at all. Those of you who made it to the end of this, thank you very much for sticking with me. Watch for perhaps some more encouraging, uplifting content from here on out. But I felt it was really important to share this, the integrity of what I'm doing, and also because it was long past due to just say that out loud. Have a good day. Help somebody else to have a good day. And keep on going one more step at a time.